All right, welcome to the Underdog Ecom podcast, where two ecom brand founders are figuring out in real time.
Yeah, we're not here to preach. We're here in the thick of it, making mistakes, testing all sorts of ideas, and really sharing the journey of how we've been growing these brands from day zero. Hopefully you learn a little bit, perhaps come away with some ideas that save you time and money. And so if you're tired of the same glittery D2C advice from those 9-figure gurus, you're here in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back. We're live here, sort of live recording here on the Underdog Ecom Pod. It's Jack, it's David, and it's Q4, and it's almost November, and we're not sleeping. No, just kidding. So we're here. We're going to talk, maybe we'll do a little catch up first here, but then we're going to dig into the weeds of virtual assistants, the land of VAs. This is something that we both utilize in terms of something in ecom. I think that there's a lot of folks out there that do it as well. It's just very much a common solution to the nitty gritty 1,000 things on the to-do list that happens with ecom. It's always kind of surprising to me how much happens when it's like, oh yeah, I've got this little brand. Oh, there's a million things to do each week, and it always changes. So we're gonna get into that, but I guess first off, Jack, how you doing? What you been up to?
Not too much, but yeah, I think just trying to pay POs and shipping and getting stuff in time for November, December. I kind of feel like people aren't spending very much at the moment. I think because everyone just knows, I think no one's in gifting mode yet, I don't think, in terms of thinking about that sort of stuff. I think it will change from next week, hopefully. But I don't know, it's been a lot of money out the door and not much in, but I'm kind of hoping that things start to turn in the other direction over the next few weeks. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like October across the board for ecom is very, very hard, depending on the brand and of course in the market and everything like that. But it's kind of you're gearing up for the gifting season, and consumers are also not really spending, and so everything's just really hard, and you have to spend tons of cash to buy the inventory, but you're not getting much in. So yeah, it's been rough. I hear you on the paying endless invoices and feeling there's not much coming in. I've had to be extremely creative recently, digging through all my numbers and digging through some of the marketing strategies, and did some things that were kind of crazy, doing special fire sales to top customers. I did one the other day that worked pretty well, that I mentioned to you off air, where it was one of my overstocked water bottles for $1 plus shipping to the top 1% of my customer base. And so things like that, just trying to be as creative and think outside the box as possible to try and keep the ball rolling and keep the train moving along the tracks.
Actually, I have a quick question on you for that. When you work for VIP, was one thing I thought about for a while, is with VIP customers, like you said about your top 1%, how do you actually, are you manually going in and...
How do you calculate that?
Yeah, how do you, because if I go into, for example, of like Klaviyo or something, I can maybe do it on they spent more than X or something. That's how I tend to do it, say a VIP list, but I don't even know that's the best way to do it, whether it's a better way to do that or do it on number of orders.
Speaking of VAs and how one little thing seems like it would be a 10-minute activity but turns into an hour, this idea was kind of out of brainstorming that I had with one of my business mentors. And basically the idea was oh yeah, you've got too much inventory. I have too much inventory. Sell one of your products that's in overstock at a super crazy deal to your top 1% of customers. Okay, that sounds easy enough. It's not as easy enough to execute. So basically what I did is I talked to Mr. GPT and was how do I calculate this? And I exported all of my customers from GPT into a CSV, sorted them by total historic CLV, historic CLV, which is different than total, because total is their estimate for how much CLV a customer's going to have, which seems ridiculous. Okay. So I sorted by total for the actual dollar values. No, sorry, I'm getting those mixed up. Historic. Anyways, Google it if you're going to do it. Historic, sorted them, went down to removed B2B, and basically top 100 customers is how I did it, or top 200. Went down the list to the actual value there for that CLV, and then went into Klaviyo, created a dynamic segment based on that number value, which was a couple $100 or something like that. And so that's a dynamic list that will keep updating in the future, so it's not static.
Yeah.
And then sent the plain text email out to those folks and SMS and that sort of thing. But it was something that sounds, oh yeah, send an email to your top 200 customers with a crazy deal. And then the deal I set up in Checkout Links, which is a sweet app, and that basically sent them straight to checkout with the deal. Although it was kind of cool. I saw a couple customers, half dozen or so, snuck out of the checkout links, which is you're at checkout, like it sends you straight to checkout. So they went back to the site, browsed around, got some other products, got the crazy deal for that one product, and added other things to the cart, which was awesome. So it like added a little bit of other profit and revenue on the deal, which is always nice. It was more of like a customer satisfier kind of thing, and also work on improving a lot of the email metrics. Those were like the goals of the campaign. So to see other profit and revenue come in, it was great.
So what, out of interest, what were like your open click-through rates on that email?
Jeez.
So I feel like you had a good, like, it was definitely engaging. So like I feel like to get that many people like coming through, you probably had a good open rate and click-through rate.
Yeah, it was definitely higher than that's been something that's been a struggle, of course. I think that there's so much noise right now in the world, and this year particularly, and we're going to probably talk about this more in another episode, how much the landscape has changed in 2025 versus other years. But it's you have to fight like crazy, it seems like, tooth and nail. So I didn't send it all in one blast. I sent it over 2 days. First to the top 100 customers, then to the top 200, then to the top 300. And open rate wasn't as good as I would have guessed without looking. High 50%, click-through rate 10 to 20%.
That's pretty good. That sounds that sounds really good.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take the win.
I mean, I feel like most of my emails have like 1% click-through rates, 2% click-through rates, something like that. So, like, I know obviously I give general emails, but
my typical ones I'm looking through, it's like around 1%. But I feel like I've had open rates in the past of like 70%, but maybe that's just a small sample size where my list was really small. And now that my list has grown over time, it's like more normal. But I would have thought like the click-through is pretty good. I would have thought a higher open rate for sure than 50%, but it's also a small sample size. You know,
yeah,
100 customers. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen? That was fun. That was a nice outside the box sort of idea. I did most of the execution myself, and so hopefully I'm testing a lot more offers lately and doing micro sales and stuff, and I'm hoping this can be something where I can bring it on board, like hand it over to a VA, which is what we're going to talk about here today, because there's all these little things where it's like setting up offers, you think it sounds simple, but then setting up the emails, and it was a plain text email that ChatGPT helped me wrote. So it wasn't even like I did every single thing myself, but just running through that process.
Yeah.
Being able to hand that over, write an SOP for it, and have it repeatable and templated out in the future would certainly be, I think, a time win. So we started with, what are we talking about? Oh yeah, virtual assistants.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. So what I've been up to, I guess, was like the leading question into that, how things are going. Yeah, same here. It's been rocky, like I was saying, and hoping for a good November, December. We'll see. I've been spending a lot of time on content and products lately, and I'm hoping that pans out, because that seems kind of like a gamble in some ways. Retooling a lot of things underneath the like hood of the train or whatever, or the car, trying to figure out like what's going wrong and what to improve on, all the things per usual. But yeah, it's been wild ride.
Yeah. I think obviously like both of us, time is tough, right? But I think, especially you, obviously you've got kids, you've got, but I think it's really hard to, I'm always struggling for time. So I think I think that's why we want to talk about this. But I mean, we've both done this quite a bit in terms of like contracting people overseas or just remotely, I suppose, whether it's overseas or not, remotely, both in and outside the country. And I think I've certainly learned a few things along the way. I think it's one of those things where people think about it. That's the first thing I'd say. I think people think about it like somebody just sticking numbers into a spreadsheet, and I've never really ended up asking someone to do that. I think it's been more of like, I think it's like you find somebody who has some key skills in areas that like you need, and then I think it's a case of like actually train them up on your business, because I think just expecting sending like some numbers someone's way and expecting them to just kind of just like get on with it, and then I don't know, I think there's a whole lot more opportunity from it than that, is like I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's useful and interesting. I was kind of going to ask too on a high level, like, what your history has been with VAs, how you've used them, and like what parts they're involved with. So that kind of leads into that kind of
Yeah, I
question.
think where I've traditionally found people is on Upwork, and I like Upwork from the sense that it's quite easy to dip your toes in the water and kind of see what someone's like before you kind of expand things out. And so, yeah, I think the benefit there is like, you can chat to people, you can get a good idea of like what they've done in the past. You can get them working on some small projects, just pay them a few hours, and like you could not only to see where someone's going to be a fit for you, but also see like is the work I'm giving them like a match for them? Do I need more of this work? Like now they've done that, is it a one-off thing? Is it actually something where I need them to do this every week? Like it's a good way of testing the water for me anyway. Versus, I know there's tons of other resources, but I do think this kind of like, I'm happy to pay someone by the hour, see how they get on, and if we gel really well together, and if there's tons more work for them to do, then let's see what else we can do. And I'm like, I've got to the point now, right? And this is partly, I think, I don't know if I've talked too much on this pod, partly because I outsource some of them to other people as well. But I've now got like 3 full-time people working remotely, or 4 actually, 3.5.
Wow.
And that's because they've like over time gain more confidence in what they do, and like they've become more like confident in what they in like those areas for the and so I feel more confident being able to say to other people like, do you want to share this, or do you want like things like that? So I think, yeah, it's a case of, that's how I've done it with a lot with Upwork, but occasionally like somebody's suggested someone to me, and then the other thing I'd say is like, is just I've had a lot of things where I have just done one-off stuff as well. Like certain video, I need a video edited now. I don't necessarily, I haven't got the pipeline to give them videos all the time, but I need a video that I need edited right now for this. And I find somebody, and I think that's especially where I think those kind of platforms work well, because you can just be like, I've got a one-off job I need doing, who, you can sift through a ton of people and see like who you think would be a good fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you've used them for video editing. You've used them for like, what are like the different tasks and areas and stuff? I'm curious.
Yeah. Graphic design, video editing, some Shopify stuff as well. And then what else? Well, at the moment, I've got a bit of a project manager. It sounds kind of crazy, but she's like, I don't think I could do anything without her now, because she's because we're doing email stuff for like 5 other different brands, 6 other different brands, as well as my own. Because of that, she's able to make sure everything's going on time. She schedules all the emails. She's got like the plan for the next month of emails. She's checking that the designs are done on time, and so like that has been amazing, because that's one of the things I think that really eats up headspace, is like trying to organize everything it's like, for example, I think you mentioned a minute ago, like about how when you do that sale, like bringing all the parts together is what takes a lot of time. Not necessarily that each part is really time consuming, it's getting them all together. And so I found that really helpful actually. And I never thought I would want like someone to be like that kind of person in the business, but it turns out that's been hugely helpful. Like I said, it's partly because of the fact that I also do some other stuff for other brands, but I think it's also really helpful for Kansha, because we have like ad stuff through the pipeline, we have emails through the pipeline, we have planned out stuff, changes to like Shopify for Black Friday, or adding a product and stuff like that. And sometimes I go in there and do that myself, but like it's just again, like it wasn't. I mean, like I'm not the most organized person, so I think it kind of, actually, I'm gonna give you some proof. This is my dad's desk. This is where I get my organization from. I'm staying at my parents' house.
Genetic.
Right.
It's genetic.
Yeah. Anyway, so like that, and then I think video editing, Shopify work, graphic design has been really good. Like I've got a graphic designer now who I'm like really happy with, and she does a really good job on like.
What type of graphic design does she do for you?
Email mostly, and ads. Those two basically, and then occasionally, like I don't know, we put a YouTube video out and needs to do a thumbnail. She'll do the thumbnail, or just like stuff like that. Like occasionally there's some other things here and there, like I need some flyers done or something, I'll ask her to do it. But the 2 main sources are static ads and email being the biggest one.
Wow, amazing. I've got some questions off air for you. No, that sounds really nice and really useful and very helpful, because it's like, you want to run a couple email campaigns a month or whatever it is, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, we need statics for all this, we need to sync up marketing across paid ads and everything, like, and then there's like the content engine, oh yeah, posting on social, like there's a lot of stuff there too. What's nice is it sounds like you've got a lot of the pieces, like you've got the pieces of the puzzle starting to work, and especially working on other brands, like they get more exposure to how other people are doing it. And I feel like there's a lot of like that impact could, and that ROI, like as things grow and things like more orders come in and like more marketing happens and stuff, like hopefully you're starting to lay the framework to have things run smoothly too in the future going forward.
Yeah, I'd say one thing I haven't found a good setup for is the organic side of things, like organic content. I still feel like I'm leading the charge there, or I say leading the charge, like not even leading the charge, but like just like that is really tough to get a remote team behind.
Yeah.
Like the editing definitely is fine. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
you can get good editors, you can get someone to get, I mean, they can, that's fine. And they can get good at, I think one thing as well, if you like a YouTuber, for example, I think they're outsourcing their editing. I think like, I mean, I know a couple of YouTubers and like they have like someone who's editing their videos, and like they rely solely on that person, because like the thought of going somewhere else and trying to get that person like up to scratch with the way they like their video edited and stuff like that is really tough. So yeah, I think that's the thing, is like the editing is fine. Posting is a little bit more difficult as well. Like for example, I tried to get someone like up to date with like getting access to all of our accounts and stuff, and I found that actually really hard, because they couldn't access TikTok where they were and stuff like that, or they couldn't, you know, even like all this authentication codes, stuff like that. So there's like, I feel like organic content, and then at the end of the day, you can't really create content remotely. I mean, like you might, like, if someone's found a VA who can create content, like I feel like you've hit like a gold mine, because I don't think, I've never seen that. But anyway, that's the thing I really struggle with. Like I want to do next year is like get a really good like pipeline in of like creating, editing, posting content, because I think that I know if we had a schedule to it, we'll be so much better. Not in like schedule, but like if we just had a like some consistency,
Routine and
right? Routine.
consistency. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself anyway?
Um, yeah, in terms of VA, I've had one working, and I have like some people here and there that do specialist type work for me here and there, but it is like generally expensive, and specifically like I'll hire freelancers for graphic design here and there, but it's more like for apparel and stuff, and that's really expensive. And so I generally shy away from that. But specific to like just the general operations and keeping the business running, like I have a VA that's been working for me. I probably could use more hours from her, basically. She's been pretty solid and picked up a lot of the different platforms and different things that I'm using. And it sounds like it's not a lot, but then you start to look at like, oh, this was the task list from last week and stuff. Like there's just like adding products to websites and like running kind of PM type work on POs and products and tech packs, and like kind of channeling, you know, getting everything updated on the ops side to then reflect correctly on the accounting side, managing POs and work orders and invoices, and setting up like all of the projects for all those types of things, and kind of just keeping things running. And then there's customer service aspects to things where it's replying to emails and helping customers with those types of things, replying to organic content comments and paid ad comments, and managing other sort of like smaller projects like influencer, content creator, sort of seeding programs. I had a cabin partnership program at one point with cabins, doing that, setting up emails. And so like a lot of my emails are new products or restocks. And so having a workflow where it's like, you know, this is our new product, here's all the things we need to do, and then here's the emails for it, both D2C and B2B. It feels like there's a million D2C stuff, and then there's like, oh, we also have to do that all for B2B, where it's outreach and email marketing and touching base with customers on how they like their products and that sort of thing. B2B and D2C, researching new buyers on the B2B side and trying to figure out like who would be a good target fit for the products. I'm sure I'm forgetting like dozens of tasks in there, but that's generally like what I've been using a VA for, and it's been really, really helpful, because there's a lot of minutia where it's like, I don't really want to like set up this, you know, spreadsheet for this sort of thing that we need to track. Can you run through that and like present it to me? Or can you, you mentioned data entry. I've been using my VA for kind of the more data entry stuff here and there, where it's like, oh, we need to update. I want to run an analysis on all the flash sales I've ran. So can you pull all the numbers out of Shopify for this and run it through into the spreadsheet, and we can kind of look at what's been working and what hasn't. Same sort of thing with flash sales, as well as there was something else the other day. Oh, product margins, like analyzing product margins and inventory and kind of testing to see what needs to be kept and killed. And that's been something that's been on my plate recently. And yeah, just all the things.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think 'cause one thing I've not had the B2B experience you have, but like we've had like some distributors that have ordered some product in our next PO, which it's all on the way to them now. But like that was so much work that I didn't expect, in the sense of like they wanted like a packing list, a commercial invoice, bill of lading, country of origin forms. Each one did want a different form. And then the packing list changed like 3-4 times. And I found that the factory was sending them a different packing list from the one I was sending them. And I was going back to the factory, and I was literally like a triangle of like trying to make sure that everyone had the same document, and it wasn't like and then of course then they say, actually the address we want to change, we want to change the address on the on the packing list, and then that needs to go back to the factory, and then it was like this literally went for 2 weeks, where like it was just passing documents, and everyone's like packing list 1, packing list 2, packing list 3. I'm like, are we on 3? Are we on 7? Are we on 5? Like it was just a nightmare. And like I literally just got an email from one of them saying like, actually, I just got a note from my forwarder, we need this to change on the commercial invoice. I literally sent 8 commercial invoices. Like I've got to send that tonight actually. But like that sort of stuff, I wish I had more of a VA for. I really wish. It sounds a bit like snobby in a way, like to have like, you talk about like these personal assistants like that check your emails and might reply, but I actually wish I did have that, because I receive a ton of emails about documents needed and fill in this form, and all this stuff, whether it's about the shipments, and I've noticed the factory that we work with has somebody who's like just an absolute whiz at that. And so even when I'm speaking to the owner of the factory, like he has like them CC'd on everything, and then they just go and like just plow through documents.
There's a doer, go do all the things, please.
Yeah, I wish I had that, but it's hard to find. That's one thing I was going to say I haven't found with VA, is like somebody who just does all this different stuff. I find it much easier to find somebody and say like, okay, you're really good at Shopify. I'm just going to give you tons of Shopify stuff that I'll show you how we do it, and how the way we do it, and all this sort of stuff. But like I find it easier to do that, or like a graphic designer who's doing, it's a bit different because they're just going to do graphic design, but like they get used to doing emails and how they do it. I think the graphic designer I work with like had no clue about Klaviyo before, and now she's like, I see some of the stuff she does, I just can't believe it. Like I saw she did something in Klaviyo the other day, and I was like, I didn't even know that was possible.
Nice.
It was like anyway, but like but again, that is easier because they're focusing on one thing, and that's one thing I found really frustrating. Is like when it's remote, I found it really hard to find somebody who just picks up whatever's missing and takes it, runs with it, sort of thing, because they struggle to understand the business enough. Whereas I guess if you're going into an office every day and you had someone there and you just like, it was like typical film, like just dump some documents on their desk, like it'd be easier for them to figure it out because they've got people around them, because they like in the business every day. So that's the struggle I found with like remote work, I think.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Like the specialist is going to be, they're in the weeds of that thing nonstop, and so they're going to be really, really good at it. But it is definitely tricky to find someone that can cover all of the bases on everything, because there's so many moving parts. I'm curious, have you ever tried to look at, there's a lot of those sort of like VA platforms that get shilled by a lot of the people in D2C, Shepherd, which I think turned to Somewhere. Have you ever tried any of those platforms to find?
I haven't. I know some people that have, like for customer service specifically, where I'm not a big fan of like them being owned by somebody else sort of thing. I mean, I know with Upwork is essentially the same thing, although a lot of people like I got from Upwork no longer like I don't pay them for Upwork, but like
classic freelancer like progression, like okay, let's cut out the middleman that's cutting like 20% of your wage.
Yeah, but I feel like when you do it through one of those companies, like it's much harder, right? I think I don't like the idea. I think I can understand for a big company when they're hiring lots of like remote people, like remote workers to come in, doing it through a company like that where they can like pre-vet a lot of the stuff. I can understand that. That makes a lot of sense. For us, I feel like I'd rather just get to know somebody myself. I can understand like that they got the experience because maybe they've worked with other brands, but I just think there's probably stuff happening behind the scenes between them and the intermediary that I have no idea what's going on, right? Like the price you're given, you have no idea what the actual price that person's getting paid. Whereas I pay people directly, so I know exactly what they're getting paid. And so and then if I want to give them, like, for example, this year, I want to give them like a bonus at the end of the year because and then I know how much I want to give them a bonus based on what like they're actually earning. So I mean, I can see the use case for these companies, but I just think it's more as actually, I think the idea of it being for like businesses our size is maybe for me a bit more stretched, but I don't know. Do you know anyone who's used them?
I don't think so. Like my VA came from a personal referral, and that's
Yeah.
kind of I feel the same way. Like I'd rather personally know them and kind of have that more personal relationship rather than it being through that third party. So I don't think I've heard of anyone using, or like I don't think I know any friends or anything like that that have been using those platforms. But I kind of want to explore expanding my VA workflows and basically work at this point, because I think I've got more hours that I can provide to someone, and I could probably, I don't have one, like my VA is not full time. And so like I probably could have someone full time at this point because of how much is going on and how many things need to be tracked. But it is kind of going to be more of a generalist thing where it's like I need someone to do
Yeah.
Shopify and D2C and set up like Klaviyo emails and all the different things. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next few months in that realm. But when did you like start using VAs? Like, was it when you hit a certain order threshold, or like when you were like, because I know there's probably a lot of people listening to the pod that are, it's a very small company perhaps that they're running, and they started it just like us, and it's like a part-time gig, side quest kind of thing. They're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. I'd say I pretty much did everything myself up until last year, probably, for the most part. I mean, again, there's things, I think there's almost like two categories as well. There's things that you can do, but you just don't want to spend the time on. And there's things that you just can't do. Like I can't do very well anyway. Like I'm not a graphic designer. I was creating all the emails for Cantra before, not a massive problem. But if I wanted to level it up, and also I was spending a lot of time trying to create the emails, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing.
Yeah.
That I'm just not good at that. And I'm glad I did it. And this is like this conversation we've had before. Like I'm glad I did it because I know it. Like I know best practices for this sort of stuff. For the most part, anyway. And so, but like I'm not good at it. Whereas like there's other stuff where it comes to like, I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm amazing at Shopify either, but like I've got fairly good at it because I had to do it. So I think doing it yourself is a good thing. I think we've spoken about this, we're going to maybe talk about this more in the future, but like I think doing it yourself is a good thing because it actually does give you the skills to be able to, when you take someone on, tell them how the way you want things done. So there's that sort of stuff. But then I think, yeah, I think I would start with stuff that you're really like. Video editing is another one. Like if you're really not good at video editing, like I think that's a perfect thing to go and outsource. Like not necessarily for organic content, but if you want to create ads and stuff, and you want it to be like really like cut really well, like the engaging, like then hiring, like outsourcing for that is like I think is a no-brainer for that sort of stuff, because like the amount of time you're going to spend trying to edit something that someone who's good at video editing is going to spend. I mean, they're going to spend a tenth of the time on it than you are. So
Yeah.
there's stuff like that. Whereas there's other stuff where it's like, I don't know. I think uploading a product to Shopify, like I think that's more of a nice to have, because yes, if you've got a big catalog, for example, and it's just like you're doing this every week, yeah. Like if you're doing it a lot, that makes sense. For us, we're uploading like 3 products a year to Shopify maximum. So like,
That sounds dreamy.
I mean, there's variants, like adding colors, like we do that a lot more often, but like a new product with new product description, like 3 a year or something. So yeah, so like for me, that's not a big deal. Like I'm happy to do that myself. So I think you've got to figure out, if I was somebody like looking at it, I think, or even now I try and do this now, I look at like, what is like or even like within the small few people I've got working for me now, it's like, what are we not good at, right? And like, is there someone else who can get better at that? Like, is there someone who wants to take on, something like that? Or do they, like, I've spoken to, like, for example, the graphic designer who's working for me, I spoke to her before about like maybe getting stuff like designing some landing pages in Figma and stuff. And she was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't like Figma. I don't want to do anything to do with Figma. I don't want to do landing pages. I was like, fine. She knows exactly what she wants to do, what she doesn't want to do. So I'm not going to like, but yeah, I think that would I would say. Like, I think it's a case of like starting with the stuff that you're just really not good at is probably a good idea.
Yeah, or you can get the max. You basically like extract. We're gonna make up words here. Extract like the maximum ROI from like the task. It's like it's gonna take me 5 hours to do that, or 2 hours, or 1 hour. When someone can do that in 100 times that, it's definitely gonna be a time savings and cost savings, because I think one of the biggest sort of challenges to running an e-com brand is time, because it's just like everything takes so much time, and you're not quite sure, especially if it's your first thing and you're a solo founder and you're trying to figure stuff out, and it's just like there's a million things to do. Like, where do you actually focus your time, and what pushes the needle further? And that's what you need to dig into. And as you analyze that, like what's taking, where are you spending all your time, and like, well, how can you improve that? That's where I think, you can turn to VAs, and that can be really helpful to try and get that outsourced. It's hard though in the beginning, because you don't want to pay Like you're trying to keep your costs as low as possible.
It is tough. And I think one thing also I found, maybe this is a little bit more abstract. I'm not normally don't think this way, but like one thing I've noticed as well is that treating them like real employees sort of thing has a huge benefit as well, because like just feel, it sounds crazy, but somebody who's like on the other side of the world, but actually treats them like they're being supported in what they need, and that they've got, you know, you're flexible, and that you're not in the sense that like, oh, you didn't do this on time, no problem, not like that, but like you know, they like in terms of like just being supportive of what they're doing and making sure they know they have what they need, and checking, you know, and just checking their, and like, you know, all those sort of things help them actually want to help you. Like I've had them voluntarily do stuff at the weekend that I haven't asked them to do, because they want it to be done. Like they actually want it to, like, not because I've said like, you have to get this done by this date. They just decided like, oh, I didn't manage to get this done on Friday night, so I did it on Saturday, here you go. And I didn't ask for it. It's because they like, I feel like I think also you got to look at, it is a good opportunity for anybody, because like that, because they get the flexibility that they wouldn't get normally. And of course, like the more work they get from you as well, actually, the easier it is for them, because it's much easier for them to work for 2 or 3 brands than it is to work for 12.
Yes.
So I think like making their life, making it fun, like not in the sense like just like do what you want, but like that they like to work for you because they like you and they like what you're doing, is useful, because they're actually more likely to want to help you out as well. Whether it comes to pricing, whether it comes to flexibility, all that sort of stuff, I think it works in their favor as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely like a win-win in that type of situation. That's good. I like that. Do you have any closing? We're gonna probably wrap this up here soon. Do you have any closing thoughts about virtual assistant work and outsourcing and stuff?
I'd just say like, don't be too. I think it's good to try it out. It's good to test it. It's good to find people, because they will, even if you like, I've gone back to people who I haven't used for a while because I remember they did something well. So I think it is useful to use people one-off, even at the beginning, if you can't take them on for tons of work, because it can be useful further down the line. Like when for example, if you want to, like, if you find a good developer that you know, they're good at communicating, you know, that they get stuff done on time. Maybe they did like one tiny thing for you, and then it's like 3 days before Black Friday or whatever, and you've got a problem with your site, and you're like, who do I call? Well, they'll, you know, you have someone to go back to, sort of thing. So I think it is good even to like try these things to build up your kind of like network, so that you can go back to them should you need them at any point. I'd say that.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Except for getting a call 2 days before Black Friday, like all my all my former clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't working on a last second emergency bug yesterday instead of being with my family at the end of the day. No, that definitely didn't happen.
Yeah.
Classic dev life. Cool. I think that's a good discussion about VAs. Let us know if you're using one in the comments, or like if you're thinking about it, and we'd love to hear from you all. This episode brought to you by somewhere.com. Just kidding. It's not actually at all, but I couldn't help but throw that in. Anyways, all right. Thanks everyone. Farewell. See you next week, or see you next month in November.
Yeah.
Crazy.
See you next episode.